Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we are going to be featuring some battles where I used a Lickitung lead and paired it up with, or teamed it up with, Shadow Gliscor and Shadow Gligar in the safe switch. Overall I went 20-5 with this team, including a 10-game win streak. This team was absolutely amazing. Lickitung basically used Shadow Gligar as a safe switch. It got me advantage so many times, either flipping switch or getting me a shield advantage, and then Shadow Gliscor swept in the back. Honestly, really fun team. A little meta, but I really enjoyed it. Really good team. So obviously, terrible lead here. So we're gonna safe switch into Shadow Gliscor, and they come into Jellicent. This is where no Night Slash is not ideal. I am running Aerial Ace on both Pokemon, but you can see how much damage this dig does, and does fantastic. And then you can see that it can easily tank a Surf from a Jellicent, and then it's going to be forced to shield or give up swap. And then this Jellicent threw a little bit early, but it's still okay. And so I'm going to let this go. It definitely could, maybe it could have farmed me down. It would have been really close though, to be honest. And I go right into Lickitung just to get a little bit of, make sure the Jellicent gets out of the way. And then I'm going to swap, get a little bit of energy advantage. And we see that is a Tentacruel in the back. It takes 8 poison jabs to get to the move, so I'm going to CMP tie. I presume that I win CMP. I actually didn't know for sure, but Tentacruel is a pretty tanky Pokemon. They went for like the only reasonable play there, which is the most reasonable play, I should say, which is calling the bait, because was in a huge advantage. That's why I was able to win there. Otherwise, I would have shielded the Scald and then would have just CMP time the second one. Even if they caught there, then I still would have been pretty okay. So came back from a terrible lead. So this is also a really bad lead. So I'm going to switch right away into Shadow Gligar, I should say. And you can see here, this is how great Shadow Gligar is. So spammy with these Aerial Aces. And the tankiness definitely helps in the safe switch situation here. So you can see they go for the CMP tie, which is really nice. But unfortunately for them, Shadow Gligar indoors and is able to get to the Aerial Ace, which is going to force a shield or give me switch advantage. And they are going to go for the farm down. If I had slightly better IVs, maybe I'd be able to make it to another one. I go right away. I was actually hoping that they would dump the Hurricane, but they went for the Weather Ball. And then I'm going to let this go. And then I'm going to switch out into Gliscor right away. Get a little bit of energy. Also, leave a little mystery on how much health my Lickitung had. And they come into Golisopod. This is really good for me. They will unfortunately make it to the move because even though Aerial Ace did get an energy reduction, it did not get a damage buff. So I am going to shield. I do fear the liquidation, which they do end up throwing. And then I am going to go straight Earthquake. Unfortunately, they do make it to the move before me, but fortunately for me, um, it does not debuff. The debuff definitely would have made this a little bit trickier of a matchup. And again, the opponent went for the most reasonable play, which was calling the bait. Some people might view it as like, oh, the opponent should have shielded. It's going to go over EQ, but they were going to lose if I went straight EQ. The only way they were going to win or potentially win is if I bait with the Aerial Ace. So they made the correct play there. And we're going to go into the next match, Lickitung into Lickitung. I don't necessarily know how to play this lead, but I am going to build up a ton of energy because Lickitung is still tough for the backline just because it's super tanky. So I'm going to go almost to 100 energy, and then I'm going to throw the Body Slam. And then I'm going to make sure that I always have a bunch of energy for whatever comes in. They throw the Body Slam, or what I presume is the Body Slam, into the Lickitung, and they come into Medicham. Unfortunately, I was a little slow on the swap, so they will be able to get to the Ice Punch beforehand. But on like the Aerial Ace doesn't KO anyways, and this is where I should go into Gliscor because Gliscor would wing attacks do slightly more damage, or probably do slightly more damage. So maybe I would be able to wing attack and Aerial Ace down before they get to the move. But unfortunate for me. And they will have to dump both body slams. They do have double body slam, so I debate going trying to get the extra wing attack in and getting to the dig, but I decide to throw the aerial ace so I get the CMP tie. That way, a body slam would be able to take out the Lickitung. I'm gonna let this go, and I'm gonna come into Lickitung. I'm gonna build up some energy. Again, I always want to make sure I have some energy banked in case I need it for the back line. And they come into Toxicroak, and this is absolutely game over. I don't care if they shield or not. I'm going to be switch out into Gliscor, and Gliscor does not care about Toxicroak at all, resisting pretty much every move that Toxicroak has: Dynamic Punch, Mud Bomb, Sludge Bomb. I don't know if it learns any other moves besides those ones, so that worked out pretty well for me. I'm actually not sure why they decide to stay. So Deoxys, this is a tricky matchup for me, especially with no Night Slash. But they come into Dugong. This is a classic team of Dugong, and Defense Deoxys is a very strong core and obviously very challenging for this team to deal with. They actually end up shielding the dig, which is not great for me. I don't think they need to shield the dig. I guess because I would still have to Power Whip anyways. But they are going to be able to beat me to the move. So they get the move right here. And unfortunately, the Power Whip does not take out the Dugong. So I'm going to build up some energy. I'm going to throw basically one more Ice Shard. They get the move. They're going to get to the move regardless, though. Or two more, I should say, because they're on their 5 cycle. And I'm going to try to lick down. And I'm trying to get as close as possible, but I realize that I'm not going to be able to lick down. So I throw one turn before the next Icy Wind or Drill Run, and I switch, and they're going to throw the Psycho Boost. I have to shield something. And they come into Umbreon. I do get the extra wing attack in. I'm going to let this go. But unfortunately, I need 2 Earthquakes to take this thing out. I throw the Earthquake. And maybe my best chance to win is to bait. They end up throwing the Foul Play again, which allows me to get an extra wing attack in. So I do 4, then throw 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe if I bait here, because they end up shielding, I guess I wouldn't have made it to the move anyway, so it would have mattered. And they come into Defense Deoxys. I'm going to try to CMP tie on the Psycho Boost, but because they switched, their turn behind, so now they have the move, and unfortunately is not enough. Even without the EQ nerf, still would have been very tricky for me. And I would still have to outpace the Umbreon, which actually probably would have. But that's okay. Tricky lead. Tricky backline with the Dugong shielding as well. Okay, so against the Gligar lead, they usually don't bait. And you can see these licks are doing quite a bit of damage. So I'm going to attempt to catch the dig, which is at 7 wing attacks. And they throw the dig, and they come into Metacham. I'm not sure this is IV dependent, because this one, I guess because this one I'm able to farm down. I'm not sure there's like a break point or something. I'm not quite sure. Anyways, they come into their Gligar again, their Shadow Gligar. And I'm going to throw the Aerial Ace, which does some damage. Unfortunately, lag there, but doesn't really matter. And I'm going to let this go. And they throw the Aerial Ace. And I will come into Lickitung. And I'm going to throw the Body Slam. Let's see what they want to do. And they come into Registeel. Kind of an awkward situation here. I am going to stay to try to chip them as much as possible, but maybe the better play would have been just to switch right away. And I will throw the Body Slam. And it is a CMP tie. I'm going to let this go. Land the Focus Blast. And unfortunately for me, they will outpace to the move. So I'm going to let this go. And I have to make a decision here on whether I want to bait or go for it. I decided to go for it, even though there's 2 shields up. I just need to land 1 bait to be able to outpace this Registeel. Because basically, because I can tank a move, it's basically the equivalent of me being able to having that extra shield. So I had to decide here whether I want to bait. I figured if I lose the bait, I can just go straight Aerial Ace here. So I felt like this was a safer play. And then I'm going to be able to easily outpace this Registeel to the move and get to the Earthquake and take it out. Yeah, I'm not sure there's like some IV dependencies with the Medicham and Gligar matchup. So I'm going to go switch out to this is the final set that I did. Played so many fantastic games with this team. And Lickitung into Slurpuff. Again, kind of an awkward matchup here. I do want them to throw before switching. So I'm going to look to tank to the move. But unfortunately, they farm up quite a bit of energy. They basically went to 90 energy there and then throw the play rough. I will switch. And they will throw the move. They do end up shielding. They throw the energy ball. They do come into Mantine. I was actually hoping this was going to be Pelipper, so that way I'd be able to get to both moves here, but they throw... I will be able to reach another Aerial Ace on the CMP tie. And I end up shielding us. And this is going to be an Ice Beam. Because I figured I'd be able to outpace here. And they throw on CMP here, which is very confusing for me. Because like, there's no way this is an Ice Beam. So I got a little bit confused here. I end up switching out into my Gliscor to be able to farm down because it is a little bit of harder hitting Pokemon. And they come into Medicham. So I go to 6 and then I throw the Earthquake. Earthquake does more damage. I was actually hoping that they would CMP tie me. And they know they can take an Aerial Ace, but the EQ does a tremendous amount of damage. And they farm up extra here. Interesting because they had the move already and they do have Ice Punch. And I will be able to lick down. I'm not sure if I lagged there because I did 1 lick and it looks like they got 2 Fairy Winds in. And I throw the Body Slam. They actually end up letting this go. I'm not 100% sure I win this game there. I think they actually still had a chance to win. I guess they just needed to be 1 over, but they needed to play rough me in order to take me out because I would survive the energy ball. Okay, so this is a really, really good lead for me. And they switch it into Azu, which is actually exactly where I want to see it. So this is the reason why I'm running Lickitung. I actually debated running this team with Medicham as the lead. And throw the Power Whip. They end up shielding. They went all the way to 99 energy, so they did 9 bubbles there. They throw the Play Rough. I'm going to try to throw a good timing on this Power Whip. And they actually will throw the Hydro Pump at me, which is oof. Okay, does quite a bit of damage. And unfortunately, not able to make it to the move, despite in my opinion, like good timing on my side. Maybe I should no shield this honestly though, because like I know it's a play rough. I know it's not a Hydro, but I will go for the farm down. And let's see what they decide to come in with. They come in with Bastiodon. I throw the Earthquake, which doesn't do enough to KO. And I'm kind of in an awkward situation here. I will throw the Aerial Ace. I debate how to play this. I end up shielding. I figured I could make it to 2 Aerial Aces, but it's super close. I'm 1 short of the next Aerial Ace, so I have to survive another Shadow Claw here, which is super close. and I am able to make it to the aerial ace. This does like 33, 35% or something like that. And then with the wing attacks, this aerial ace is also going to be able to KO, and the Bastion does not have very much energy, and I should be able to wing attack it down. They do throw the Shadow Ball, not enough, so I don't actually need to go for the dig. So I end up throwing the aerial ace, and this is enough to take out the Kofragrigus, and I'm going to be able to farm down the Bastion, wing attack it down, and end up winning the game. So that worked out pretty well for me. And we're off into this next game, which is going to be Lickitung into Medicham. I debate how to play this because I really should throw the aerial ace as soon as possible at it because I'm going to be able to outpace it. But that's okay. I end up shielding. I will farm up a little bit here. And then come into Lickitung. I go for the dig. Dig is base 80 power, so it's actually a pretty decent move. And does quite a bit. I will be able to survive this body slam. So I will throw the aerial ace here. And then they actually end up shielding it. I figured double aerial ace was the safest play. And they actually end up shielding. So I went for the dig and I got the CMB tie. And I actually end up taking out take it out. And I figure if they're switching here into the Lickitung that it's going to be a Bastet on the back. So I actually go into Lickitung and they come into Bastodon. So my prediction was really nice here. But this is an awkward matchup, to be honest, because I actually thought it would be a little bit better for Gliscor. But it looks like Shadow Gliscor actually loses the one shield to Bastodon because the EQ is not enough. But I just need to land this EQ. The EQ is not enough to take it out. This is where the nerf does impact Shadow Gliscor in this matchup. It's not enough, and they actually will end up surviving, getting the move off with 1 HP. But I'm like perfectly fine here. I'm gonna be able to lick down here. They actually end up switching, unless they have, I don't know. I would survive a dynamic punch as well. So, and they have the psychic. And I said you're going to power with them to make sure it KOs, but the body slam would have been enough anyways to take it out. So pick up another nice win there. All right, we're going to have Lickitung into Gligar. This opponent actually predicted I was going to make the catch. And you'll see this right here. And they come into Greedent, but this is actually okay for me because I do double resist the mud shots. They are super spammy, but dig, pretty solid move. Pretty solid move. Definitely not as good as Drill Run, which I think is the same damage but 5 less energy. And I'm gonna let this go. Aerial Ace is definitely enough to KO at this health range, so I do throw the Aerial Ace. Maybe I could have thrown one more wing attack before throwing, but it doesn't really matter. They end up throwing the move here, which they end up having Night Slash. They actually I threw a bad timing here. Threw a bad timing there. That's just my fault. They get the dig. I throw the body slam. I don't end up getting punished for throwing bad timing. So I'm going to let this go. They actually end up getting the boost here. I'm going to throw right before the next Night Slash. And they actually decide to go for the farm down, which I was a little bit surprised by. I'm not gonna shield the first one. Night Slash even boosted. Will still not do a ton. It does like 40% here. They will reach another one. So I wanted to shield just in case they got a boost there. And then that Night Slash would have been absolutely devastating. And they come into Lantern, and we're gonna test out what is better. Lantern nerf / buff, or the EQ nerf, and EQ nerf actually ends up winning me this match here. So end up working out pretty nicely for me. So I think this is the last game that I'm going to show here, and we're gonna have Lickitung into Lantern. This is a good lead for me here, and so we'll see how the opponent will want to play this out. It takes eight now, eight and eight sparks to get to the move, right? Because 7 each turn, seven each spark, I should say. So I'm gonna try to attempt to catch the next Thunderbolt, which I do end up getting the catch. I'm praying that they don't bait me here. They actually go for the Thunderbolt. That worked out pretty nicely for me, and they come into Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz quite a strong Pokemon now because of the Aerial Ace buff, and but Shadow Gligar doing Shadow Gligar things here, which you'll see in a little bit. I'm gonna let this go. They throw a poor timing here. They definitely should have did one snarl then throw, but that's quite all right. Works out in my favor. Throw another Aerial Ace, and you can see it's doing so much work here. And I throw another Aerial Ace. Not the best timing here, but that's quite all right. And they throw right away, which is perfectly fine for me. And if this is their best response to Gligar, then I'm feeling pretty good here. I'm gonna shield this, not because the Dark Pulse does a ton of damage. The main reason is that I would have to shield the Aerial Ace afterwards. So I figured this is the best play here, and they do land the Aerial Ace. I'm gonna go for the farm down and take it out. And they come into Lantern. I debate what's the right play here. I end up going Aerial Ace. This doesn't KO, but would put it really low. And I do get the farm down. And they come into Metacham. And then I make a completely unnecessary catch here. I know that they're 4 away, so I count to 4, then switch. And this doesn't KO. Even if it doesn't KO, I would be able to just throw a body slam at them and do one leg, throw the body slam. The opponent chooses not to shield because they realize the game is over. So end up finishing this set 5-0, which worked out very nicely for me. So overall, this is a really fun team. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. I think Shadow Gligar is so good. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.